are ways to negotiate lowering your closing costs during the negotiations of the home that you're trying to buy. And we're going to talk about that now. The closing costs, in case you don't know, is going to be your lender, title, escrow fee, and your prepaid property taxes for the year. That all gets accumulated into closing costs, and it's typically around 3% of the purchase price of the home that you're buying. So if you're buying a $350,000 property, you're estimated to pay about $10,000 to $11,000 in closing costs alone. So let's say that you got pre-approved with this program and everything's high and mighty for you. Yay, now I just need help with my closing costs. How do I start? Is to ask the seller for a credit back towards your closing costs. This allows the seller to provide you a closing cost credit back during the negotiations. So for example, if you're buying a property for $350,000, your closing costs are estimated to be $11,000. If you ask for $5,000 in closing cost credit from the seller to cover your closing costs, that $11,000 number goes down to $6,000 that you would have to pay if the seller is providing the $5,000. You follow me? I know you do. Most lenders who are giving you this loan will allow the seller to give you up to 3% of the purchase price back towards your closing cost credit. So if you have a good enough buyer's agent who can negotiate all of your closing costs, hug them, refer them to more people. Because in a situation like that, your agent is negotiating the best deal for you. Now, if your agent can also provide you half of that money back from the seller, where they're covering your closing costs by half, or they're even giving you $3,000 towards your closing costs, that's a really good negotiation strategy. And it helps you save the out-of-pocket money that you can now use towards furniture, appliances, because you know these remodels, they don't come with refrigerators sometimes. And let's say you have like 3 or 4 homes to choose from. I highly recommend, as a buyer, you locate the properties that have the longest market days. If they don't have a lot of issues with them, it's mainly cosmetic and you're not getting into a nightmare of a fixer, go for the properties that are not as desired, because there is a higher chance that that seller is more motivated to negotiate and also negotiate a better deal for you as a buyer, so they can sell their property and be done with it. And in that process, you can ask for some of your closing costs or all of your closing costs back, where all you have to put is 1% down payment and you possibly pay no closing costs just by the seller covering it for you. That's really, really cool. Now, another way that you can lower your closing costs during negotiations is by having your lender provide you a lender credit, which is very similar to a seller credit, where they give you money back towards your closing costs. Biggest difference with a lender credit and a seller credit is when you are asking the seller of a property you want to buy to cover some of your closing costs, you do not have to pay a higher interest rate by doing that. But when you're doing a lender credit, that's where it gets a little tricky. But let's say the lender that you are working with can provide that lender credit to you. That just means you have to exchange getting a higher interest rate. And that's the way that the lender can provide a credit to you, by going higher on your interest rate to kind of offset the money that they're giving you towards your closing costs. And it's not the most ideal way, but if you are buying a property where you're already a couple $100s under your monthly budget and you have some room to pay a little bit higher of an interest rate, this lender credit can be very beneficial to you. Asking for gift funds. Now, this isn't the most ideal way, because a lot of us don't have family or friends that can just, drop a couple grand on us for a closing cost credit. I know. But in certain situations, I have clients who are just starting, they have good jobs, their parents know that they're good for the money, but they're just kind of struggling a little bit. So kind of like asking a seller for credit back or asking a lender for credit back, ask somebody in your family that trusts you with money like that, whether it's $1,000, $500, $3,500, and they know that you're gonna pay them back, or they don't make you pay the money back. Damn, that's even better. But of course, if you want to pay back your family, friends, rightfully so, you can do that on the terms that they give you. And they're probably going to be way better terms if you do ask for the money from your family. But that would be another way to lower your closing costs, just in case you are really struggling with getting a seller credit or a lender credit. It never hurts to ask for a couple grand from the people that love you the most, if they have that money.